Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk on every Sunday at noon, and then I post it up to Facebook. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. And I would like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. They are an online therapy company. They are international. So if you are in any country, all you got to do is go on to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez, fill out some questions, and they will set you up with a therapist here in the USA. Or if you are here in the USA and you don't like your therapist and you want to find a different one, go to betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. They will set you up with somebody in your state who is licensed, master's level or PhD level. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. And I've been getting really good feedback from people who are using them, and they're really affordable. So it's like, I think it works out to like $65 a session for a package of 4. So that is really affordable. So thank you, betterhelp.com/Chris Godinez. All right, let's dive into the questions. What work can I do to heal from a sudden discard? It was sudden, cold, and unexpected. They cut me off completely, suddenly, and instantly. So this is what abusers do. They do. It is sudden. It is complete. It is, that's what they do. So you're going to work on you. You're going to write and burn a letter. You're going to, dear whoever it was, the good, the bad, the ugly, the horrific, and at the very, very end, you boot them out of your head. You don't get to live up here rent-free one more second. Bye-bye. Read it out loud once, trot it out to the barbecue, burn it, let it go. So basically, this is kind of a weird way to take comfort, but you're not alone. That's what they do. Now, it's funny because abusers will accuse targets of abuse who've gone no contact of, oh, you've discarded, you've ghosted me, you've done this, you've done that. Here's the thing. Most targets of abuse, when they go no contact with an abuser, will have given the abuser warning after warning after warning. This is not working. We need to go to therapy. And don't ever go to therapy with an abuser. Let me be clear on that. Don't ever go to therapy with an abuser. But, you've offered therapy. It's like, let's go to therapy. Let's work on this. Let's do that. And they go, screw you, screw therapy, blah, 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 blah. And then you finally go, we're done. Thanks. So abusers will, when they find a more satisfying supply, will absolutely devalue and discard suddenly, it seems like, to the target of abuse. Although the signs were probably there, but we weren't paying attention. We weren't noticing them because we didn't want to. We wanted to believe that this person loved us. So you're not alone, sweetie. You are not alone. I think that's the most important thing, is that you're not alone. This is what abusers do to everybody. It feels sudden. It is absolutely complete. And like I said, they do one of two things. They either do the whole, that's it, goodbye, screw you, I'm done, I'm out of here, and I've got another supply, or they turn into stalkers. So count yourself lucky in that one. So you're going to work on self-esteem. You're going to get the Self-Esteem Workbook by Glenn Schiraldi. You're going to get that, or you're going to get You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. You're going to work on boundaries and codependency, either with The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, PM Melody, Codependent No More, Beyond Codependent No More, both by Melanie Beattie. You're going to work on The Inner Child by Catherine Taylor, or, any inner child workbook. I don't care. Just get one that you like and start working it. And you're going to work on yourself, and you're going to build your self-esteem so it's rock solid. You're going to build your boundaries so those are rock solid, so that you know who you are, what you want, and you make yourself bulletproof to any other abusers that might come sniffing around. So that's what you're going to do. It is no longer about the abuser anymore. Now it is about you. Now, you're lucky you got away. So good job. And it just so happened that they happen to be the one to leave. That's the best case scenario. If a lot of times when the target of abuse does leave, that's when they become stalkers because they didn't get to have the control over it. So yes, it is devastating. Yes, you are going to feel the feels, but you have to realize somebody who would do that to you was not a genuine person. So we fall in love with the illusion of who they were. So it's going to be grieving the loss of the illusion of who we thought they were. So you're going to be grieving. So you're going to be writing and burning letters, the good, the bad, the ugly, the horrific. At the very end, you say goodbye and you grieve and you let it out, but you let them go. Okay? So yeah, and get with a good trauma therapist. Get with a good trauma therapist and work through this. You're gonna feel the feels, and that's what you need to do in order to heal. So absolutely. Chris, thank you for your presentation. What about narcissists and autoimmune diseases, arthritis, etc.? Okay. So from what I've been reading, there is some sort of connection between having been an abuse target and later going on and developing autoimmune diseases, arthritis, physical issues, diseases, cancer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there is some sort of connection there. I don't know how strong the connection is, but I have seen that over and over again in things I have read. So yeah, because, okay, for one thing, when you're in an abusive situation, your body is on high alert all the time, and it cannot continue, forever and a day. So eventually, since, we're on high alert, looking for danger, our adrenal gland just finally goes, and pieces out and stops working, adrenal fatigue. And then there's other issues that show up, thyroid issues, arthritis issues, autoimmune diseases, all sorts of stuff. And I think it's because our bodies have been like, for like ever. So it's really important to do self-care like nobody's business. It's really important to get with a good trauma therapist. It's really important to start working on your safety, your security, your self-esteem, not other esteem, self-esteem, working on the self, really knowing who you are, validating your body. How many of us were in abusive families that were shame-filled about bodies? How many of us got shamed for our bodies? A lot of us. So get back in touch with your body. Get back in touch with loving yourself, loving your body, loving every part of you, because this body takes us through life. So validate your body, validate yourself, really work on loving yourself, really work on the trauma, getting with a good trauma therapist, going through CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, working on all of that stuff and really allowing yourself to feel and to heal. The Body Keeps Score, Bessel van der Kolk, wonderful book, totally recommend it. So yeah, because we do tend to hold on to trauma in our bodies, you bet. So, I had this one massage therapist that did really deep tissue, and I swear to you, he started working on me and I just started bawling. Not because it hurt. I mean, it did, but it hurt, but it wasn't a physical hurt. It was a body memory. It was like, it was releasing all these body memories. So yeah, it happens. It happens, guys. It absolutely happens. So don't be surprised. But also don't avoid massages because of that. Don't avoid working on yourself because of that. It is much better to suffer the suffering of dealing with something than to suffer the suffering of shoving it in the underneath the rug and still dealing with it in the subconscious. You know what I'm saying? I would much rather deal with stuff up front than to have it running like a bad computer program in the background. Does that make sense? So yeah, so there is that. Okay. What? Oh, I need my glasses. Where are my glasses? Hola. Yeah, I don't know what I put. Where did I put? I have no idea. What were your favorite things to do as a child? Example, loved to color and paint. What were your favorite snacks? Plain Cheerios. What do you guys like? What did you enjoy and still do now? Okay, so when we're a little kid, adults, especially abusive adults, love to take away the things that we loved. Oh, that's childish. Oh, that's stupid. Oh, that's this. Oh, that's that. So it's really important to get back in touch with the things you like to do as kids. Like seriously, like coloring, finger painting, coloring in a coloring book, flying a kite. I love to fly kites. That's one of my favorite things. Mac and cheese. That seems to be a comfort food for me, although I'm having trouble with the dairy. But, it's like, so you kind of start exploring, what did you used to like to do as a kid? What did you used to enjoy? And that's really important because that inner child needs to be validated. That inner child needs to be loved. That inner child needs to be heard. So you want to make time, like seriously make time, like when you're meditating or when you're working on the inner child workbook, you think about what age did you get damaged? What age did you really get hurt? And you find that child and you love that child. And you go do fun things with the kid. Like coloring, like flying a kite, like going to the beach. Going to the beach is one of my favorite things ever. So yeah, you do things that you enjoy, and you try new things that maybe you don't remember that you enjoyed. So like, what do kids like to do? Play with marbles. Oh my gosh, I could play with marbles for days. All the different colors and all the different stuff and things like that. Playing with marbles, or drawing, or coloring, or singing, or dancing, or skipping. Sometimes I'll go out onto the canal and I'll just skip down the canal for a little bit and get in touch with that 4-year-old and be like, oh yeah, I still know how to skip. Fabulous. So you do things like that. It's important to honor the inner children. Absolutely. And the abusive adults in our lives love to take away the things that we loved. They love to take away the things that made us happy. So it's really important to kind of get back to, what did you like to do? What did you like to eat? What made you happy? Where did you find joy when you were a little kid? Hide and seek. I love hide and seek. Hide and seek is a fun game. It's like, what did you like to do when you were a little kid? That's why I love playing with my nieces and nephews, because it's like I get to play hide and seek. So, you do the things that you enjoy. You do the things that brought you joy when you were a kid, and you honor those parts of you. And you go back and you do them every once in a while. I think the biggest thing is that I see with narcissists is they have this overdeveloped sense of not only entitlement, but gravitas. So they have to be taken seriously. They're serious. Oh, screw that noise. There is much to be said for skipping down the canal. There really is. There is much to be said for playing with a dog. There is much to be said for being a kid and just pretending and dress up and, fun and things like that. Do that. Do more of that. Get back to that. Get back to that unbridled joy. It's really, really important. So yeah, dress up. Every once in a while, I will dress up. That's why I go to Disney. That's why I buy the Disney dresses. That's why it makes me laugh when I do it. It's just, you do stuff like that. It's okay. It's okay to be silly. It is. But I'll tell you something. Abusers, they can't stand it. You know why? Because they don't feel. They don't feel. They don't love. They don't have a true sense of humor. Their sense of humor is very much snark-based. It's sarcasm and sardonic and nasty. Mostly hurting other people. So, silliness, there's much to be said for silliness. There's much to be said for Ren fairs. There's much to be said for dressing up and going to the Ren fair, which is actually going on right now in Phoenix. So, go experience, go be a kid. Go enjoy yourself. Make time. It doesn't matter how old you are. Go make time to be a kid every once in a while. Do it. It's good for the soul. Trust me on that one. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Chris, when outsiders try to push forgiveness, is that them having narcissism? Well, it could be several things. It could be them having narcissism, or it could be because of whatever religious upbringing they have and they're shoving their values onto you. That's a possibility. It could be because they're uncomfortable with your being able to go, nope, boundary, bye-bye, and then they have to be like, oh no, you have to forgive them. Why? Who says? So it's probably something going on with them. It could be a myriad of things, and it's really hard to tell unless I have them sitting in front of me. But generally, what I find is that people who push, who push the forgiveness, or who push the, you need to be back in touch with them, you need to do this, you need to do that, they're either ignorant and they don't understand, or they're minor narcissists themselves. And either way, if they start pushing the forgiveness, you have to draw a boundary with them and say, stop it, I mean it. I don't have to forgive anybody. I have to pay taxes and die. That's about it. So, let me educate you as to what the nature of an abuser is, and we're done, because I'm not playing this game. You could ask them, okay, what's your thinking in this? And it's probably going to be a lot of word salad, and it's probably going to be a circular argument, and it's probably going to be religious based. So if it's any of those things, you just kind of go, no, thank you. Thank you for your input. I'm not listening to you. Bye-bye. And you tell them, it's like, this is not up for discussion. We're done. We're done. This is a boundary. We're done. So there that is. Okay. Let's get to the next question. What you were saying right now brings me to ask what you think about regression therapy and going into little space for trauma coping strategies, really helping me heal and do mirror inner child work. Regression therapy is good as long as it's done by a practitioner who actually knows what they're doing, because you don't want anybody implanting false memories. So if you're doing anything that has to do with hypnosis, you want to make sure you're with a really good practitioner that understands what they're doing, and they're not, it's not, oh, I took a weekend course, so now I'm doing regression therapy. Does that make sense? So yeah, again, it's like whatever therapy works. Whatever therapy works. Seriously, some people it's EMDR. Some people hate EMDR. It doesn't work for them. Other people like EFT, emotional freedom therapy, the tapping stuff. Other people like CBT because they like the cognitive stuff. Other people like DBT, which is dialectic behavioral therapy. There's a myriad of different modalities and different techniques and different things. So you go with what works. If something is working, go for it. Now, I don't know a whole lot about those techniques because I do CBT, I do cognitive behavioral therapy. But again, if it's working, use it. If you're going to do regression therapy, make sure it is somebody who is well trained, not just a weekend course, like a year or two long course, and that they know what they're doing, because you don't want them to implant false memories. So there that is. Yeah, I think whatever's working, go for it. Yeah, absolutely. My ex with BPD had a cocaine addiction. Does that make her BPD worse? Does addiction and BPD go in hand? Any personality disorder is prone to addiction. So, oftentimes with abusive people, you will see that there is either an alcohol or drug addiction, or there's a sex addiction going on, or a video game addiction. There's some addiction. There's some obsessive compulsive addiction going on. Does cocaine make it worse? Frick yeah, because cocaine is a stimulant, and if somebody's in the middle of a psychotic episode and they're paranoid and they're, psychotic thinking circling the drain, it's going to make the screaming, Mimi, raging, you're out to get me a hell of a lot worse. Absolutely. So, and basically what I tell people is if somebody is going to work on a personality disorder and they've got an addiction going on, you got to get the addiction handled first. You got to be clean and sober first in order to start working on the emotional stuff, because if you're using and you're continuing to use, therapy's not going to do any good because you're in an altered state. So does it make it worse? Yeah, absolutely, because cocaine is a stimulant, and if they're in a psychotic episode, because remember, borderline personality disorder has traits of all the major personality disorders, and it borders on psychotic thinking. So when they get wrapped up in that, well, you meant that, you said this, and you really mean this, and you're out to get me, and it's all this not reality-based thinking. They go into the psychotic thinking, and if you throw drugs on top of that, you might as well just be throwing gasoline on that baby and light it with a match, So yeah, it can absolutely, it'll exacerbate anything. Cocaine will exacerbate whatever mental health issues are going on. Absolutely. And oftentimes what I find too is that if you're dealing with somebody who's taking cocaine and they're taking heroin, or they're taking cocaine and they're taking alcohol, they're generally treating bipolar, because they're trying to manage the highs with the alcohol and they're trying to manage the lows with the stimulant, and it never ends well. Let me put it to you that way. So yeah, it can actually really do bad things. That would not be good. Okay, let's see. There's other questions that I wrote down that I wanted to... Oh, Lord, I wish I knew what I did with my glasses. I had my glasses. I promise you I did. And I cleaned my office and now I can't find anything. My mom keeps using her will as a way to keep me in control. Okay. So, and this is going to be a topic of one of the videos I'm going to be doing in the next few months, because I want to hit on this. Abusers will dangle an inheritance. Dangle over somebody's head and go, if you jump through my hoops, you'll get the will, you'll get the inheritance, you'll get the house, you'll get the car, you'll get the money, you'll get the whatever. So basically, this is a classic game. Every single abuser on the face of the planet that has any sort of property does it. So it's a way to keep the kids in line. It's a way to keep the kids close. Well, if you cut me off, I'm cutting you out of the will. Great, do it. Ask me if I care. You know, my dad did that all the time. My dad wrote more wills than Howard Hughes. I swear to God and all that's holy, because he was an attorney. And so he could. So he would write these wills. He'd get pissed off at somebody. He'd write the person out. He'd write another will, you know, get pissed off at that person, write them out, put the other one back in. I mean, seriously, it was ridiculous. So yeah, they do that. They dangle inheritance as a way to manipulate and control. And you've got to not be attached to that. So the thing that I see happening is that a lot of survivors of abuse are attached to the inheritance because abusers connect money or things with love because they can't love. They don't love. They don't feel. So they tend to reward the kids with money or things as opposed to quality time, you know, spending time with the kid, really loving them, really hearing them, really, you know, being with them. So they throw stuff at the kid. And so they have trained that kid to think that the stuff is somehow love, or that the stuff is somehow valuable, or that the stuff is somehow fill in the blank. Do you see where I'm going? So you've got to really train yourself that this is not true. The stuff is not valuable, really. It's not love. It doesn't mean I'm worth anything. It's just stuff. Because unless and until you get to that point, that abuser is going to have absolute control over you because you'll be dancing to their tune in order to get the stuff, which in your head represents security, love, whatever, which is an illusion. So yeah, you gotta let that go. The stuff is not worth it. Trust me on this. I don't care how big the inheritance is. Selling your soul is not worth it. So, you know, when my dad would do that, I would look at him and go, Dad, you got to do what you got to do. And when he realized I could not be manipulated by that, he stopped telling me what he was doing, and he probably stopped writing me out of the will. So, you know, because obviously he died and I did get something, but I couldn't live my life trying to please him, trying to stay in the will. Does that make sense? And neither can you. Life is too short. All right, kids, I got to go. I got a client coming in, so I will talk to you later. And this week, we're going to be talking about emotional safety, emotional security. What does that look like? All right, talk to you soon. Bye.